Hi guys, Craig here. Welcome to another edition of the podcast, Tell Craig Your Story. Today we'll be speaking to Sam Sledge Hammer Bastin. Now I met Sam a couple of years ago in Phuket, Thailand. He is a fitness coach, a personal trainer, and he also teaches kickboxing at Tiger Muay Thai. He also is a professional mixed martial artist, and he's also a professional boxer as well. But before we go, please go to our website. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on VK for our Russian listeners, and WeChat for our Chinese listeners as well. So at Tell Craig Your Story or search for Tell Craig Your Story podcast. And we'll also have a link there, a link tree, Tell Craig Your Story. And this is where you can find out where Tell Craig Your Story podcast is streaming. We're on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. All right, here we go. This is my chat with Sam Sledgehammer Bastin on Tell Craig Your Story podcast. Hey Sam, how you doing today?
I'm good, Craig. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Not a worries, not a worries. Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man with all your training, but first question, I've been asking this a lot lately, but can you tell me how has this coronavirus sort of affected your training, your work, your scheduling? How has this all affected you and your staying?
Yeah. So we have a big gym out here with a lot of guests and members and a lot of fighters and stuff like that, and a lot of employees as well. Like Tiger Muay Thai, it employs like something around like 150 staff members.
Yeah, right.
So we're all laid off at the moment, but Tiger's still taking care of us. You know, they're still giving us a bit of a portion of our salary, and it's enough to pay the bills and pay for rent and stuff like that. So it's still survivable, but it's just really quiet at the moment. You know, there's not much we can do out here in Phuket except for stay indoors, and you know, like they've blocked off all the districts, so you can't really travel very far. There's not much.
And how has that affected Phuket? Because obviously that's like tourism is the number one sort of, you know, one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world. How is that affecting like the businesses and people there?
Yeah, so I mean, like for Phuket and for Thailand and Phuket in general, it's built on the travel industry. So a lot of the businesses around here are all travel orientated or stuff like that. So it's pretty bad for a lot of the local businesses and the small shops around this areas. Everything's blocked off. I mean, a lot of these people, a lot of the Thai community, they need these people to survive. You know, they need the money to survive out here. And I'm not sure exactly how the government takes care of the people out here. I'm not sure how all that works with the Thai citizens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's just interesting because here I've come back to Australia. I was actually in China at the time, and I quickly come back home, and I'm seeing that our government's doing everything for the people. Like even the people that are unemployed, they're getting like double social security from the government in this time. So it's a crazy situation. So and is you and your family, are they all safe at the moment as well?
Yeah, like back home, my family's all safe, and it was pretty crazy because my dad at the time he had to move from New South Wales to Queensland, so he just done that 2 weeks ago, and then because he crossed the border, he had to do the 14-day quarantine.
Oh, right.
So he moved, and then straight away, like he got stuck in quarantine in the new house that he got.
Right.
But yeah, the rest of the family up in Tari there, they're all safe. So hopefully all those communities can be safe back home.
Yeah, right. And what was your schedule coming up for this period as well? Did you have matches happening for this month and for last month, or was it just your training?
So I've just been working at the moment and working with a lot of the fighters that were preparing to compete. So
Yes.
there was a couple of fighters I was helping prepare for UFC Australia, but that fell through, and a lot of the other coaches were helping prepare for fighters, preparing fighters for other shows, UFC events, Bellator. But like at the moment, all these guys, there's a couple of guys still out here training, but no one's going to be able to compete, or work for a long time. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
everyone's stuck in a bit of a hard place at the moment,
Yeah, and how does that affect your your training and your dieting, and are you still able to go outside and do your fitness training by yourself?
I just train at home. Like, to be fair, I hadn't been focused too much on my own training, but since the coronavirus happened, I've been training a lot at home by myself. So I just do that. I work with a couple of people. I've got two friends that come around and we do pads sometimes. So
Oh yes.
just a little bit of training, but I'm trying not to be around too many people or anything like that. So just trying to do my part, stay indoors and stay away from people.
Yes. Yeah. What is it? Social distancing?
Yeah, that's it.
So Sam, so we have, like we said, we were talking about before. We've met before. Firstly, I just wanted to ask. It says Sam, the Sledge Hammer, Bastin. Now, when I saw you perform in a match in Phuket, you didn't have that name, or maybe you did. But is this something new? And how did this name come about?
That's just just my old fight name. Back in the amateur days when I was amateur boxing, and I never really changed it. I just left it as that, and yeah,
Okay.
it's just a bit of a fight nickname.
Yeah. No, it's good. I love it. I love the ones that have that name in there, and it sort of builds a bit of a reputation as well. Gets the name out there. So Sam, you currently working at the Tiger Muay Thai, which like I said before, I've been there, and it was such a good experience. Totally recommend people going if you're planning a holiday or something to go there. So you've worked at Tiger Muay Thai. So how did you go about? How did you get there, and how did you find out about Tiger Muay Thai? Because you've been there for quite a long time there now, right?
Yeah, I've almost been here for 7 years, coming up to 7 years. Like February next year will be 7 years. So it's been about 6.5 years now.
So how did you get involved with that? Like, so you were originally born in Taree, inland Taree in Australia.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Tiger Muay Thai?
So I was actually living up in Port Macquarie.
Okay.
I was working up in Port Macquarie at a gym there after I moved from Taree. And then what ended up happening was, after I'd finished work up there, I seen this Facebook advertisement for training overseas at Thailand, and I'm like, that might be a good idea for later down the track. And then literally like a week after seeing that advertisement, I'm like, I'm gonna go to Phuket. I literally stopped everything I was doing, and I decided to do a 3-month camp over here in Phuket and to train at Tiger. So it was literally like a spur of the moment decision, and a week later I was literally on a plane over to Thailand, and that's how it really started.
Yeah, right. And this 3-month training, who were your trainers there at the time?
So there's a number of Muay Thai staff members here, and at the time that I came over was actually the 2014 TMT fighter tryouts. So I came over at the same time for that, and I wanted to compete and try and win one of the awards, but I didn't end up getting picked for the tryouts. So I was here anyway, and I just started training, and at that time there was a number of different Muay Thai staff members. I can't remember too many of the Western staff at the time, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new people here now too. So
Yes. And you've stayed there for such a long time now. You're still there. What has made you stay in Phuket for such a long time?
the best way to describe this place is there's no other place that makes you feel more alive, I guess you could say. There's everything here on this one strip of street. Like you said, you've been here before, so
Yes.
you know what the street's like, and there's healthy food restaurants, there's places you can hang out with your friends, and there's literally like 15 gyms on the street here, and
Yes.
I mean, there's no other place in the world that really has something like we have here. We're lucky to have a place like this in Phuket, and call this place home now. So
Yeah.
it's a good place to be.
It's an amazing little spot. You get your taxi from the airport, and then straight away I got like a motorbike and a helmet, and got my little place to stay on this strip, and like you said, there was all really healthy food. There was massage places, and then at the night time, there was like pool and bars all along the little street. And then if you wanted to go into the city, that was maybe like a 10 or 15 minute drive.
Yeah, that's it. There's Phuket town, which is only 10-15 minutes away, and then you got Patong, which is a 30-minute drive, and then Big Buddha's 5 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
And then we got Rawai and Carter, which are only 10 minutes away, where all the beaches are. So there's a touch of everything here, and I think that's the best thing about this place. That it has a variety of everything, and there's no other place like this in the world that you can go to and have a bit of everything.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just go through and correct me if I'm wrong with some of the stats that you've had with your career. So as a pro mixed martial arts, your record is 7-7.
Yes, that's correct.
Your pro boxing is 8-0-1. So I'm assuming that's 8 wins, no losses, and 1 draw.
Yes, that's right.
So what was the 1 draw?
So I fought a guy that I'd already previously beaten, and we had a rematch, and yeah, I thought I won every round actually, but it is what it is. It's Thailand.
Yes. Was it local judges as well?
Yeah, that's it. Local judges, like a local guy that I fought previously. And it is what it is in Thailand. Like, there's also in Phuket, there's no weight classes, so sometimes you might be fighting a guy that's 4 or 5 kilos heavier, and then like one time I fought a guy who had 35 kilos on 35, 40, almost 40 kilos on me.
Wow.
A lot bigger, So it is what it is. The only problem is with the boxing out here is that in Phuket there's no governing body for boxing. They have it for Muay Thai and stuff like that. So even though these were professional fights, a lot of them have not gone on my box rec, which is my professional record.
Right. Why? So because it's not as a founding, you don't get that on your.
There's no sanctioning body for Phuket boxing until recently. A couple of months ago, we've got someone now that can sanction the fights out here, but that only happened 2-3 months ago. But before that, there was nothing to sanction the boxing.
So what would your record be if you included all those other other professional fights?
It would just be it would be 9-0-1.
9-0-1, right?
That's for the boxing. Yeah, that's for the boxing.
Okay. And with the mixed martial arts, is that also done in Phuket as well? I don't think I saw you. Like I saw you have a match. It was a boxing match, and we're all in like the little Tiger Muay Thai section. It was such a good night, and we're cheering for all the Tiger Muay Thai, and I can't remember who you fought, but my God, you belted the crap out of it. It was, I don't know if it's changed now, but like they carried him out on a stretcher, like in like a rugby league. They carried him out on a stretcher, and then we were sort of like could see behind the curtain, and he was out totally cold, and they took him behind the curtain and they just threw him, and then they had these guys like looking after him on the floor, and I was like, oh my God.
It can be pretty savage sometimes. I mean, there's like the way they do things out here, and with the fights and the shows and stuff like that.
So why hasn't the governing body gone in there before there? Like, is it the Thailand government that's sort of stopping it, or is it just the,
So for the boxing, I'm not sure how it works for the Muay Thai. I'm sure like it's like everything's sanctioned for the Muay Thai, but there's just not much boxing out here. It's pretty quiet with the boxing, to be fair. Right. The same with the MMA. Like there's been a couple of shows that they've tried to run out here for MMA events, like for example, like Full Metal Dojo. You've probably heard of them.
Yes.
They run up in Bangkok, and they have a show that they run through there. And John Nutt, the promoter, he's literally one of the only MMA promoters in all of Thailand. So every time someone tries to put on an MMA event, the Thai government or the sanctioning body for martial arts, they closed it down. They actually made MMA promotions illegal in Thailand for a period of time.
All right.
So
it's very interesting. So have you gone outside of Phuket to do matches, and have you gone international? Because during the travel as well, I've been to like Cambodia, Vietnam, and it's still really, really big there as well. Like the Muay Thai and the kickboxing. Have you done that yet?
The only places I fought in China and Thailand, and that's it. So I've only fought in 3 countries: back home in Australia, Thailand, and China. So I haven't actually competed anywhere else, but I've traveled a fair few places with other people that have competed and stuff like that, like coaching and cornering and stuff.
Yeah, right. So tell us about your experience with China, because I'm still currently living in Shanghai at the moment. Tell us what that experience was like. And was that the first time that you've been to China?
I've been to China maybe 5 or 6 times now.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, I think the first time I went would have been in 2014, and I can't remember the name of the place, Shanqing or something like that.
Okay.
We went there, and it was like a population of like 35 million people in this one city.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was that place was pretty crazy, but the stadiums they have in China are crazy. Like, I don't know how they have these massive stadiums, like everywhere you go. That was the first time, 2014. That was a long time ago.
Right. And you were doing mixed martial arts, or was it boxing, kickboxing, or?
So that was the first time I went. I was cornering one of the fighters. Actually, I was there to help out one of the fighters. I forget the name of the promotion over there. But the last time I went to China was when I competed, which was in Shenzhen, and I fought my friend actually, Raf Fiziev.
All right.
He's now in the UFC, but yeah, I fought him in Shenzhen maybe 3 years ago now.
Yeah, right. And how did you go?
He got me.
Oh.
Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, so it wasn't my day.
the whole experience of doing that, coming from Phuket to, Shenzhen, another one of the biggest cities in
Yeah,
China.
yeah.
So that's amazing. So do you have plans to go internationally in the future, or are you just happy to continue in Phuket?
Like I don't know what my plans are, as in like what I'm going to do for the future, but for now, like I'm still going to stay here. Like I love this place. It's my second home, and for now, like my priority would just be to get my own health in check and to keep coaching. Like I've been doing a lot of coaching and helping a lot of the athletes that are out here. So that's my number one focus at the moment, my own health and to keep helping these guys out, I guess. And
So
then like in the future, I'd love to keep competing again and get back in there for sure.
yeah, that's great. So with you're a personal trainer and you're also a fitness coach.
Yeah.
I remember again doing the boot camps with you very early in the morning, getting on the back of the truck and and getting taken to the beach and then doing the hill climb. So how did you get involved with the fitness training and the personal training? Was that something that you did in Australia? Because I did read that you worked in CrossFit for 10 years in Australia before this.
So I was working in total. That's in total, not just in Australia.
Right.
So in Australia, I was working at Allegiance Combat and Fitness Centre, which is based in Port Macquarie. They're not there anymore, but it used to be known as Zen Training Centre as well. So it was a martial arts centre originally,
Okay.
and it became a CrossFit box. So I worked there for about 4.5, 5 years. That was prior to coming to Thailand.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your early days. So you were born in inland Taree. So
So,
tell us about growing up in that area.
yeah, so I was born in Tari Hospital, but I'm originally from a place called Ellenborough Falls or Elands. Elands has a population of 150 people. There's like not many people there at all. It's a very small, quiet town. There's
And for
literally,
and for our international listeners, can you just tell us whereabouts Taree is?
it's coastal. It's basically between Queensland and Sydney. So you've got
Gotcha.
like a lot of coastal towns along there, but further inland from the coast. And that's where Taree, Port Macquarie, but inland from there, a little bit further, is a place called Ellenborough Falls.
Nice.
It's literally from Taree inland. It's probably about uh, 80 k's, 80 kilometers maybe.
Okay.
So it's a fair bit of a drive. But yeah, again, it's like rural. There's not much out there. Some beautiful nature and waterfalls and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just a small country town and out in the middle of out in the middle of nowhere.
I love it. I love coming back to Australia and hearing these slang words. Whoop whoop. It's great. I miss it so much. So tell me, when did you first, get involved with the fitness? Was it at a young age that you started to do this? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started competing in Kung Fu when I was about 7 years old.
Right.
And from there, I just done Kung Fu for a few years. And then once I reached high school, had to catch the bus into town every day. So it was a far travel. And then my interest fell into boxing. So I started boxing at quite a young age. And 14 years old, I was competing in amateur boxing and,
Yeah, right.
moved from the Kung Fu to the boxing. Done that for a number of years. And then once I'd finished high school, had about 35 amateur fights, 35,
Oh,
40 amateur fights. And then after high school had finished, I moved up to Port Macquarie and got a job there, and then started doing TAFE, get my certificates. And during that time, I was looking for a gym, and then that's when I found Zen Fitness Center, and then which was ACFC, or Allegiance Combat and Fitness Center, later on.
Yes.
So I started working for them, like start at the bottom, cleaning toilets and doing reception work and stuff like that. And as I was doing that, I was getting my certificates from TAFE.
Right.
And then, started working for those guys and started competing again and got back into more boxing. And that's when I started MMA. So,
yeah, right. So was it popular, boxing and martial arts in Taree, where you grew up?
So where I grew up, there was in Taree, there was no MMA at the time.
Right.
There was a couple of boxing gyms, and the boxing gym that we used to train at was called Punching Monkey in Taree.
Right.
Yeah, so that was like an old school gym, and then we had maybe like 5 or 6 of us that were like generally training for boxing. But living in Taree and those surrounding areas, it's so hard to travel and compete, because we had to, if we were looking at getting a fight, we would have to travel to places like Glen Innes, which is like 6-7 hour drive,
Right.
So we'll either go to Glen Innes or to Sydney, but in between, far and few between, there wasn't much competition or not much events. So
did you have any in Newcastle? I mean, that's still a bit of a drive. Yeah.
Yeah, like Newcastle would hold maybe like two or three boxing events a year for the amateur boxing. So
right.
If you could, you would try and get we would try and get on a fight in one of these local kind of shows. But again, like even Newcastle itself is 2.5 hours away from Taree. So
Taree, yeah. Well, that's where I grew up, Newcastle, and I am still here now. So, and I did go to like you were saying, I used to go to those amateur boxing. So I knew that they had it in at the Newcastle Workers Club, and I know
RSL clubs.
The RSL clubs. Yeah. So I did actually go to a couple of those events as well. So why do you think that the boxing in Australia hasn't really taken off? I mean, it was huge with the Danny Green and the Mundine, but in your opinion, why do you think the boxing in Australia has never sort of really taken off?
Like we have some good professional boxers. Don't get me wrong. Like I think the pro circuit is still doing quite well in Australia.
Yes.
But I think the biggest issue we have is I think in all sports, not just boxing, is the support base. Like,
right.
I find that a lot of Australians would rather, in the sporting industry, they would rather put someone down instead of build them up. So we have like a lot of people always bagging on our sports athletes, and I think that's a big problem with a lot of people not getting behind, like their sports athletes. Like they just don't support it that well. It's not just boxing, it's every sport. You always see on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, like the amount of like people that are putting these athletes down is not good for our sporting culture in Australia.
Yes, and the whole restrictions are getting more restricted as well. So I think less people are wanting to do it as well. Like let's hope in the future that it gets better, because it's sort of like the music industry here in Newcastle as well. We used to have a huge, we had the Screaming Jets, we had Silverchair, and then now I don't even know where to go now, really, to see live music. So it's a bit of a shame that and the whole sort of entertainment. So hopefully that gets a little bit better in the future.
It's like when there's an event on or a show or something like that, it's like hey guys, like you grab your buddies and go pay $10 or $15 for entry and go support the local sports and the local whatever it is, music or like anything. Just go support it and get behind your your athletes and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, then nothing. You're not going to get shows. You're not going to get live events and stuff like that.
Exactly. That's well said. I totally agree. So speaking of here in Australia, what did your parents think when you told them, hey, I want to be a boxer, I want to be in mixed martial arts? Did your father or did you have family that also did boxing and mixed martial arts, or was it just you? And tell me what your parents think of your career you've chosen.
Oh yeah, they love it. Like my parents have always supported me 100%, and especially my dad. Like I wouldn't be where I am without his help, and he's literally my dad is literally the reason where I am today, because of how much he supported me with the early days of boxing and stuff like that. Like for example, 3-4 days every week, he would cover 150, 200 kilometers 4 times a week to take me to boxing, because he would drive all the way down to Wingham to pick me up, and then he would drive to Taree, which is the next town over, to just get me to boxing, and then and get me back in that. So yeah, he for a number of years he always pushed me to do it, which was awesome. Like I had good parents to be able to be successful with what I chose to do, and they supported me 100%, which is awesome.
That's great. And I guess it's good for them. Have they been to Phuket a couple of times now to see you?
Yeah. All the families come out here, so they've come out a few times, and my mum came out with my sister a few years ago, and then my dad and my other sister came out last year, at the end of last year there. So yeah, they came out and check out the place and see what it's all about, and they loved it.
Did they go to watch you fight as well?
No, I wasn't competing at that time when we were out here.
Gotcha.
They just come for a holiday. They stayed in Batong and come check out the gym for a couple of days, and yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's So did your dad actually do boxing, or he just wanted to help you with training?
No, my dad, he's an old scrapper, but he didn't.
Right.
He never boxed. He just he probably played up a fair bit in his own time, but
unofficial boxing matches. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, my speaking of which, my father he taught Kempo Kan karate for over 30 years here in Newcastle, and he was like a 5th Dan black belt, and he would go to Japan every 10 years, and then they would come out here and show him all the new moves and all that. But it was just, for me, it was just something that I never got into. But my dad never pushed me. I wanted to play cricket and I wanted to play, soccer. Yeah, my dad really didn't push me, but I wanted to talk about, especially with you, with your personal training and your fitness, about my dad always said that, and especially towards the end of his training and teaching, that he had 75%, 80% female learning how to do self-defense karate. And I used to, why is it all the girls and ladies wanting to do this? And he just said, if they get into a sort of a situation, they know how to defend themselves, in any sort of situation going out like that. And when you think about it, that's a great sort of way to look at it. So it's for everybody, right?
So for example, with my classes out here, because now I don't really teach much of the fitness anymore. I have my own boxing program that I run Monday through to Friday. So we have everyday boxing.
Right.
And like on average, my class would probably be like 50 to 60 people every class.
Right.
So I have a massive class that I'm running every day, and probably 50% of the class is female. Like there's a high number of females that are boxing and doing Muay Thai and even doing MMA and Jiu-Jitsu out here now. Like we have really good a really good Jiu-Jitsu program out here, and then we have like a high number. There's a female only class for Jiu-Jitsu out here.
That's great.
I mean the numbers for females and doing like self-defense classes and stuff like that is quite high, which is good, you know. Like I think everybody should know how to defend themselves to some degree. So the more people that do it, the better. Like they're learning how to self-defense and take care of themselves if they ever find themselves in a bad situation.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I hope that continues to happen. That not only just the males but the females, they get involved in it. I think it's great. So with Tiger Muay Thai, tell us what is available and what classes that you do.
So I have the boxing program with another coach here. I run the program. He helps out. John Hutchinson, his name is.
Yes.
We run the boxing program. So there's a class every day, a class that runs for an hour every day. There's literally on our timetable, every week there's over 100 classes. I think there's 115 or 120 different classes that people can go to. So we have about 70 Muay Thai staff members, and there's a program for beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then we have another program for our fight team. So there's literally 4 Muay Thai classes running in the morning, and then 4 Muay Thai classes running in the afternoon. And then we have wrestling and MMA classes, jiu-jitsu classes. That's all the Muay Thai side. That's all the mixed martial arts side.
Yes.
And then that's not even the fitness, you know, like the number of fitness classes we have, CrossFit and strength and conditioning classes. It's endless. It's so many classes for people to go and try, you know.
And you know what? There was one that I could remember, and I wasn't very good at it, but I gave it a go. It was the sword fighting one.
The Krabi Kabong.
That's the one. That's the one. That was such a good experience, and you know, it wasn't just that one, but you know, all the trainers there are just so approachable, and you know, it was like a little family. Like I joined a little family. Do you have that sort of feeling as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like all the staff members out here, like everyone communicates with each other. You know, we have to. It's the place where we're living and the place we're working for, and that's one of the best things about this place is it builds that family community in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us. You also have, like, I noticed that my cousins, when we were over there, that you were doing like private lessons as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I work with a number of the fighters doing PT or personal training for like striking, whether it's boxing or mixed martial arts related. So I work with guests if they come through and they want to book a personal training session. I'll do it with any guest that comes through. But you know, like my main focus is working with the mixed martial arts athletes, the MMA fighters that come through here, and that's where the majority of my time goes into is doing privates for those athletes.
Right. And when you go there, I mean, as we were talking before, you were saying about having tourists come and then they might add the Tiger Muay Thai as a part of their holiday. Do you have to be a certain age? Do you have to have a certain fitness level to be a part of this Tiger Muay Thai?
No, I mean it's for everybody. Like we cater for all levels. We cater for everyone. I think there's an age limit on on 12. I could be wrong. I think it's 12 years and above.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's families that come and stay out here. Like we had a family that moved out here for a year, and they had their 2 kids, and they stayed with like on the street here, and they trained at Tiger, and they were there with their kids every day, and like it's very family orientated as well. Like there's a restaurant there, and everything's available. So it's family orientated, and then that's why a lot of people come here. Once they try it, they come back every year. Like people
Yeah.
come consistently over and over and over, and they love this place. So
I think I'm definitely due to go back there and see some friends and catch up with them and do a couple of sessions as well. I'm very
yeah,
very
when you're back, we'll have to get some boxing happening for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I tried I did the CrossFit, I did the what do you call it, the sword fighting one. I did the beginners and kickboxing. Just such a good atmosphere. I got onto like a diet as well. Everybody was like helping each other and pushing each other when we were training as well. So it was just such a really good place there. Tell us, like, who has come through there, because I've seen lots of like UFC fighters that have gone on to bigger and bigger things. So who are some of the athletes, mixed martial arts, UFC boxers
Yeah,
that have come through Tiger Muay Thai,
the
or that
the
you've trained?
the list is literally endless. I
Really?
mean, I would say probably like close to 1/3 or half of the UFC roster has probably come through Phuket. So
Wow.
you see all these athletes here like all year round. People come and do their camp here, or they come and do half a camp. But like, for example, guys that I've personally worked with, like I've done a lot of work with Alex Volkanovski, who he just won the featherweight world title.
Right.
Alex Volkanovski, like Daniel Hooker, Brad Riddell, all those guys from City Kickboxing out in New Zealand. They all come out here and do their camps here, or they do part of their camp here, and then do most of it back home. But you'll see these guys come out here over the years, and all these guys are also a part of the TMT sponsored fighter program. So there's a lot of guys that come out here for those camps.
Yeah. Right. And will you ever come back to Australia, or do you think that Phuket is your place to be?
I think that's a bit of a hard question because of what's happening at this point in time. So
Right.
I guess I'll have to see what happens in the future with this virus, and if there's also like changes with things, and what's going to happen with the gym here, and like until how long it's going to open up. We don't really know what the plan is for the future.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if things can get back to normal, I would love to stay out here and keep doing what I'm doing and helping these athletes, and being here in Phuket would be awesome. But we're just got to see what happens for the future.
And do you have a family there yourself now, or
No, I'm just by myself. I
okay.
just rent a house out here, and I'm by myself, and all my family's back home. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about this, with the sport that you've chosen, your injuries. Can you tell me about some of the injuries that you've had during your career?
Just the usual, I guess.
Yeah. Any
I've broken
major
my hand.
injuries?
Yeah, like I had trouble with my left hand when I was younger. I broke my left hand like 8 times. I've broken pretty much every knuckle on either hand, and like I dislocated my elbow once. I've broken ribs, my nose a bunch of times. Like, I guess they're just like typical. You get used to that though. Like, it's just typical injuries.
Yeah, right. And do you think that with the UFC it's become so popular that you're still going to have those doubters that say, oh, it's too violent, and So what do you say to people like that are sort of negative towards, mixed martial arts and boxing and kickboxing and whatnot?
To be fair, I just think those people, it's not that they're negative. I think more that the fact that they're uneducated.
Right.
So that's the thing right there. It's like there's a lot, there's risk and danger to everything that we do in everyday life. The chances of sustaining like a bad injury is very, very high. You're not going to get hurt in this sport more than what you would playing tennis.
Yes.
Like, and a small injury is not going to harm you. You know what I mean? Like, you condition your body for this sort of stuff. But the thing is, people see, for example, people look at UFC or MMA and they say, oh, these guys are fighting in the cage and this is like barbaric and stuff like that. But
Yes.
to be fair, MMA is out of all the martial arts, MMA is the safest sport that there is. Like,
Yeah, right.
boxing, out of all, boxing is the most dangerous because of the head contact.
Yes.
But that's where uneducated opinion comes in. Like, people don't understand. Like, they just see an MMA cage and they're like, oh, these guys are just barbaric and they're fighting to kill each other. And it's not. It's one of the safest sports there is. There's just a little bit of contact involved. That's all.
Yeah, and definitely like in the modern time too, they've got like doctors there, people assessing it, and like the referees are sort of getting more involved to stop those sort of things where you watch an old one and they just build, So I think, like you said, they need to be a little bit more educated in that. Yeah. So
the sport itself has become so much safer with regulations and rules. For all sports, for boxing, for example, like they used to fight 15 rounds, so they knocked that down to 12 rounds for a title fight instead of 15 because it was causing harm to people. And in the amateurs now, for the Olympics and big events for the amateurs, they've taken away headgear because they've only realized in the last few years that headgear is one of the main reasons that people are sustaining concussions.
Yeah, right.
So that's proven. That's scientifically proven that the headgear is more dangerous than not using it at all.
That's really, really interesting because you see that not only with the boxing, but like in the rugby league as well. And I've also heard that as well, that, if you're going to get a head knock, what's like, 2 or 3, centimeters of plastic sort of, how is that going to stop your head from?
Yeah.
So, yeah, very, very, very interesting. So what would you say to someone listening that doesn't know too much about mixed martial arts and boxing? What's the best way to get involved with it,
If they were getting involved with it for their own training purposes, I would say for them to just to find a gym and hopefully, there is gyms out there that are quality and really good, but it's hard to find a good gym.
Yes.
If you can find a decent gym with someone who knows what they're doing and this is something that they want to approach, like learning mixed martial arts or learning boxing, then 100% go for it, but before you do, educate yourself a little bit, educate yourself with the sport and get to know a little bit about the sport and what it's all about for whatever they choose, whatever sport that they want to focus on.
Yeah, right. So outside of fighting, and what do you like to do outside of in your spare time?
I'm a gamer actually as well. So I do a lot of gaming. That's probably where most of my time goes.
Yes.
A lot of PS4. So.
Are you a surfer as well? Like being?
Nah, I mean, when I was living in Port Macquarie, there's so many beaches there, but I never really got into surfing. I tried it a few times, but it just wasn't my thing. I'm not very keen on the whole beach thing, so it's not really my thing. But I like to travel, that's another thing that I'd like to do more often is get more traveling in. But my partner, she lives out in Hong Kong, so I go to Hong Kong a fair bit and get to travel, and with the fighters I get to travel, so that's another thing that I like doing and putting my time into.
Is it popular in Hong Kong as well? Like you said that you've been to China a few times, but is Hong Kong also a popular place because it's still got that whole British feel to it? So
yeah, there's a lot more kickboxing. There's a lot of kickboxing and Muay Thai in Hong Kong. I went to an event there about 6 months ago actually, to watch some fights when I was in Hong Kong, and yeah, it's quite a good event there. And I'm not sure about the MMA side. I'm not too familiar with the MMA in Hong Kong there.
Yeah. So okay. So in the future, like it's sort of open at the moment, but you're saying that you wanted to be you've been in the corner of other people. Is that something that you could do long term?
Yeah, definitely. Like coaching and spending time with these fighters away, like that's definitely something I could do long term. And to be fair, it's all I've ever really done anyway. So coaching and competing and being involved with different martial arts is really the only thing that I've spent all my life on, spent my time on, you know. So
yes, yeah, absolutely.
And you can coach forever. You can't fight forever. You can't compete forever. You can definitely coach forever. So that's always going to be there for me, and it's all I really know. So I put a lot of time into helping a lot of fighters from different organizations and different martial arts, and whether it's MMA or boxing, kickboxing, you know, like a lot of these guys that I've worked with, and put a lot of the years in helping these guys, and that's all I've ever done.
Yeah, right. And that's one thing that I wanted to ask as well, just while we wrap it up. How has Tiger Muay Thai sort of competed? Like you said, there was like 14 or 15 different gyms on that same road. How does Tiger Muay Thai? Because when I first went online and saw the pictures, it was, you know, they only had that back room, and then when I got there was the shop. They were you know, building the shop, and now I just saw pictures of it today, recently. Oh my God, it's so much bigger. So how are they competing with like the other 14 or 15? Like why is Tiger Muay Thai so, you know, stand out?
So like, Tiger's been here the longest out of all the gyms. Tiger was originally here. I could be wrong. It's about 12 or 13 years now. But they were here, and like originally this road, there was only 2 buildings on this road 12, 13 years ago. There was 2 buildings. There was Tiger, and there was a little side shop restaurant. And now there's not a tree in sight. Like there's just buildings everywhere and gyms everywhere. And but yeah, a lot of gyms offer different things as well. Like I think we have at Tiger, we have a bit of everything. We have a bit of everything. PTT down the road, they've got a set up with jiu-jitsu and wrestling and everything like that as well, similar to Tiger. And then there's a couple of big CrossFit boxes. We also teach CrossFit, but there's Unit 27 across the road. They have their main focus is CrossFit.
Right.
And then we have 5 or 6. There's 6 or 7 Muay Thai gyms, just specifically for Muay Thai. And then there's another boxing place set up on the road now, and there's yoga retreats and things like that. And yeah, it's endless. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, right. Last couple of questions here, Sam. So what would you say to an up and coming, inspiring MMA, boxing, kickboxing, martial art, you know, some young kid coming up, you know, what advice would you give to that person?
I would just say to be consistent with what they're doing, and don't let anyone change their mind on what their focus is, because I see, like, again, like talking earlier, we were talking about like the way people support people is in my opinion in Australia is lacking. So for that person, don't let don't let anyone's opinion change your mind on what your focus is, whether you want to, be a successful boxer or an MMA athlete. Focus on what you want to do, and don't let those negative naysayer people bring you down.
And learn the basics.
Yeah, learn the basics. Like, basics is key for everything. Fundamentals is key for life. Like, stay focused. Stick to your fundamentals for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, right. All right, Sam. Are there any sort of sponsors or social media or anything that you want to promote on the show?
Yeah, so I've got my own boxing logo and stuff now. Cunny Boxing. It's a bit of a laugh, a bit of a Aussie humour. But yeah, there's just other, like, definitely Tiger Muay Thai. Like, that's where I work and live. And for anyone that wants to travel and do something completely different with their life, and or looking for a change, come and visit us and see us at Tiger Muay Thai. That's the number one place to be for sure.
Yes.
But that's about it. Yeah, definitely.
And you're also on Facebook as well?
Yeah, so I've got my Instagram, Sam_Bastin. I've got a YouTube channel that I've recently just started, Sam Bastin, and then Facebook as well.
Awesome. All right. And we've already talking about the future. And Sam, I just want to say thank you for your time. And I'm the same. I really, if you're going on a holiday to Phuket and you want to do something different with your holiday, go to Tiger Muay Thai, spend a week, spend 10 days there, and do some training, get fit. I had people in my class that were huge people, like they were really, really big, and that's what motivated me. If this guy that's 130 kilos can sort of keep jogging and doing all the thing and sweating like that, then I should be able to do exactly the same thing. So
yeah, definitely. Like, this place is for everyone, and everyone's welcome here to come and train with us and get amongst it. So yeah, come and check us out, guys.
And they've got the Tiger Muay. It's just tigermuaythai.com.
Yep.
TigerMuayThai.com.
It's Instagram, Facebook. It's everywhere. YouTube. There's much videos on YouTube, tutorials on training tutorials. There's a tutorial on showing people around the camp and everything like that. So if anyone wants to check out more information, they can hit the websites or they can jump on YouTube.
Absolutely. All right, Sam, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate your time today. And when all this pandemic goes away, I'd really like to go back to Tiger Muay Thai and do some more training with you.
Thanks for your time, Craig. If you ever want to come back out, let me know, and we'll try and help you out when you come.
Not a worries. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me on your podcast. Appreciate it very much.
Not a worries. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sam.